Good morning. It is 10:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, October 4th, 2019. Last night was an incredible one. If you're a degenerate, you almost had a heart attack at the end of the game I was calling down there in beautiful Greenville, North Carolina, East Carolina. The lights went out in the middle of the game. I have a theory people were throwing around who might know. We heard people walking around the trucks where we leave at, and there was two people that I do not know and probably don't have a lot of credibility, but they're in an area where you should have some credibility. So they thought the lights were on a timer set for 11 p.m., and they just turned off when the timer went off because somebody forgot to say don't turn off at 11 p.m. That's just a rumor. I don't know if that's true. If that's the case, what a hilariously savage move by the lighting person, just to, because they're probably answering questions more. What happened? Somebody tripped the wire. It's like, well, it turned off at exactly 11 p.m. Are we certain it was a wire? Yeah, it's coincidence. It would be a Zito operation. That was hilarious. The end of that game was insane. Mm-hmm. Thought something crazy really happened. Got a text from old Uncle Todd here. Told me he did a full lap around his house in excitement, only to come back and hear no.
Yep. Time I got a fleet circle.
It was
no win.
I was on the other side, very happy.
If you haven't seen it, last night, the last play of the game, East Carolina, who refused to go for it on a 4th and an inch, refused to give up at the end of the game. And they were down 17 at one point. The line was 12 or 11, wherever you got it at. And with about, I don't know, a minute 10 left or something like that, they scored, made it automatically down to a 10-point spread to flip it, which has been a dominant night for Temple all night. And in garbage time, they pick up a point. And then the over-under was 47. It was at 44 now at this point. They recover the onside kick somehow, which never happens anymore in football. And all of a sudden, a little fumble-rooski happens. And Temple scoops it up, scores. Score goes on the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. Score goes on the scoreboard for the last play of the game to flip the bet to the over and back to Temple. Just an absolutely heartbreaking, gut-wrenching game for anybody who had any money on it. And then all of a sudden the refs come, nope, forward progress will stop. We don't even want to hear about it. Get out of here.
And it was awesome that you guys talked about it. And the Brent Musburger's network that I listen to every morning for all my gambling news, they were so complimentary of you and Hasselbeck and Adam knowing the situation and knowing that play was still an important play to a lot of people. And that a lot of announcers would have just said this play doesn't matter, but you guys reacted like it was for the win, for the game.
Hey, that was a Super Bowl play to some people. I thought about some guy just in his apartment, probably a studio apartment if I had to guess.
Yikes.
He's young.
Those are nice.
Yeah, he's young. He's a younger guy, But he has a big old brain, and he found something, with this Temple team. He found something. He bet it. He was like, oh, I got it. Here we go. 67% of the money was on one side, I think. Mm-hmm. The Sharps are on the opposite side, though, right?
The Sharps were on, if I remember correctly, ECU in the under, which it was. And then it almost went to Temple in the over, which a lot of people would have enjoyed.
67% or 70% of it were, which, by the way, very interesting that I have those numbers going into the game, strictly because I think sportscasting is going to have to include that as sports gambling becomes. Now, granted, I might get a call today from ESPN, right? We might get a call today from ESPN that says, a bit much, don't you think? We might get but that game, in the way that game was, it was, the fans in the stadium who love East Carolina Pirate football, no matter how bad they are, they're like the Cleveland Browns fan base recently of like college football. Like they're a loyal bunch. It didn't fill up. The stadium's big. It didn't fill up all the way, but there were still a lot of people there for a team that has not done very well. They were even leaving because the game was boring. You know what I mean? And it got to a point where those last 3.5 minutes after the lights went out, which, by the way, Temple was moving. And those lights go out. Let's go ahead and ice our offense real quick. Vegas was like, let's see what we got going on here. And then bang, those last 3.5 minutes were some of the most fun I've ever had, I think.
Well, to your point, like if you were watching that game still, it was solely because of the betting implications.
Only humans watching that game at that point were the degenerates.
So you were speaking to everyone that cared.
Because that Seattle-LA game, We may or may not have had that on a screen in the booth. What a game.
What a game, man.
We would like be able to peek over at it during the commercial break, and we're like just watching, like, holy hell, that is not how I thought that was going to go. And then we look back, and it's like, Russell Wilson did what, dude? Hey, we'll dive into that here in a little bit, but everything I said about Russell Wilson yesterday, let's just go ahead and I would like to re-say all of that, and then add at the end, he might be the second best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Very good.
A lot of MVP talks after last night.
A lot of people are like, is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Let's remember, the greatest of all time is still playing, but I think he would even argue that he can't touch what Patrick Mahomes is doing right now. What Patrick Mahomes is doing with a football while playing quarterback, I think it should be respected a lot more almost. And the people that are asking, is Russell Wilson the best player in football? I respect it because of how awesome of a player he is and what he did last night, and he looked great. But Pat Mahomes is doing stuff that has never been seen on a football field before. And it's not just, the no-look passes. People do no-look passes. I agree. But you add that in with the ability to run like some of the best runners in the history of the game, and then the ability to throw the ball further than anybody who's ever played the game. I mean, it just gets to the point there where you're like, this guy is special. And he's got Andy Reid, who's not scared to let him just do whatever. And he has the weapons. Like the greatest show on turf back in the day. It feels like the Chiefs are that, even though I think the Colts are going to stand up to the challenge.
You can say that Russ is probably doing it with less skill.
Absolutely.
So I saw this stat this morning. It was I couldn't believe it. So it goes back to last year. His last 19 games, Russell Wilson, 42 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
What you just say?
Last 19 games, 42 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
That is the picture of efficiency, I would say.
Yeah.
And last night he was making throws that one where he rolled left that everybody's talking about to Lockett.
Yeah.
That was like a 45-yard ball. If that thing was to continue to go through there, that's probably landing about 40 to 45 yards from where he threw it off balance with just a flick of the wrist there. He has a cannon. I don't think I've respected Russell Wilson's arm enough. Now, granted, I see him dominating in the major league. I see him dominating at shortstop, where he's just got the quickest pop time I think I've ever seen. And then he just does a little flick of the wrist over to first base. See you later, Judge. Out. You know what I mean?
Nailed it.
Is that baseball?
Yeah,
You got it.
I just did the baseball.
You got it. Yep.
So that's what I've been saying. I see him do all that, and I guess I don't correlate it directly to how strong his arm is in football. But that throw was an impressive throw. That was one of the most. We watched it because they showed it, and it was during a commercial. They were just showing it on the screen we were watching, and it was like an amazing. It was an amazing throw that you don't expect from Russell Wilson enough. I don't think
it reminded me a little bit of the throw Rodgers when he was rolling left against Dallas a few years back.
That some people call the greatest throw.
Jared Cook on the sideline.
Which it was. It was insane. That throw, and then Lockett, by the way, that catch. What a play by that guy. I wish I was that athletic. Would that not be nice?
Yeah.
Would that not be cool to do that one time?
Just once.
Just one time do that.
With all that going on, just got time to check down, look down, see if your toes are in. Perfect pose for the photo, a big smile.
Just memeing the hell out of it.
I'm like, how do you do it?
It's incredible. And then Sean McVay after that game, he looked incredibly composed, to be honest with you. He looked very, almost happy for his team. That's a tough place to play up there, especially with a team. Matt Hasselbeck got into this, especially with a team that checks a lot. Jared Goff checks a lot. Now, Diggs, granted, you said that via text for us to relay to the world that a lot of that's McVay going into Jared Goff's headset, which might be true, but I think even after that, Goff is doing a lot of checking. Hasselbeck, who I think is a pretty, how do I say this? Tough critic of humans. Hey, just punch that thing. Hey, Mike Tyson punch out that microphone. But I think he's a tough critic. I think he is a tough critic.
He's not overly free with compliments.
But fair.
No, he's very stern, but I don't know if he's fair, by the way, because my opinions are.
He's pretty complimentary of all quarterbacks, which I get it because he was a quarterback.
That's why I say fair, because anytime we say a guy stinks, he gives the, well.
Hey, he turned me on Kirk Cousins a little bit.
Oh,
Did he?
On today's podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0, Matt Hasselbeck got in the box truck, and it was a 45-minute peppering session of us and him. Basically just him educating us on things and us going, yeah, but. And it covers everything in the NFL. I enjoyed it a lot. We had to cut a couple things.
He should call Stephon Diggs and tell him that.
Well, so this is what he thinks. He thinks in that entire situation. By the way, Sean McVay, very complimentary. I think he likes his team. Aaron Donald's one of the most incredible specimens to ever do anything in the history of that guy. I got to watch the game back on the flight home and then a little bit during the thing. There's another guy I think we should appreciate a little bit because he's flexing on Instagram too on a regular basis.
Dude, he is.
It's like not only does he show it on the field, off the field, he's like, yeah. Hey, by the way, real life Debo, dog. Don't know how to. Hey, I am bigger, stronger, faster than anybody else. Did you see that kid that won like a workout with him? It was on, I think it was on the NFL social media. A kid in high school or college won a chance to work out with Aaron Donald, and they showed Aaron Donald's
That's
workout.
a prize. Feels like torture.
Oh, that's the difference between you and a kid who's probably trying to make it, who, in his mind, and for a lot of people that are probably trying to make it, I think they should just watch that video because they're going through all of his workouts basically. And it was like all the explosive workouts that he does is just next, like a lot of weighted ball tosses and things like that. And he does these curls. He very much knows that his arms are very impressive, as he should. But I watched that, I'm like, I ain't never worked out like that in my life. I think I should probably try that one time.
Yeah, also a big chip on his shoulder guy because everyone told him he was too small. His arms were too short. Can't play.
Because he's only like 6 foot.
Yeah.
They did a special. He's from Penn Hills, which is near where we grew up, literally the next town over. They did a special with him and his dad. You remember that? Mm-hmm. It made me cry for something. I forget what it was because his dad loved like benching. Like basically, he's got his dad.
Oh, yeah.
He got him into working out, and then when Aaron Donald signed his big deal or something, he came home and like told his dad he can retire now or something like that. It was like a moment, you know. It was always get me every time, and it was like a real cool to like hear the backstory behind, arguably the most. And Diggs said this before we went on it. He's the most disruptive football player probably in. I mean,
He just looks like
I don't want to give absolutes, but it seems like he's the most disruptive player that's maybe ever played the game.
he's so quick and agile and strong. It reminded me last night watching him go through the offensive line like if Saquon Barkley were to add 70 pounds and then play defensive line, like how he has jump cuts and things like that going through the offensive line. He's the most impressive human being, I
It's
think.
jarring to see it come from the middle of the line,
So
too.
fast.
Because you're used to seeing it come from D ends.
I don't remember this, but Albert Hainsworth, didn't he have a
Big
couple
boy.
years there where
Yeah.
he was just
big and powerful. Like
but I think he had like 3 good
yeah.
years.
Yep.
And then he
And
got
he stepped on people.
He got broken off big time,
yeah.
and that was kind of the end of it.
Well, we say this often. We say whenever you get $1 billion, and not $1 billion, obviously, you got like 80 million or 90 million or 60 million, whatever it was, relative. It's hard to want to just get beat up all the time. I think for some people love it. You know, there's some people that just continue to go. They have the drive, the competitiveness. They love beating people. They love collecting the check. They love winning. They do that whole thing. But some people, they get that money and they're like, oh, man, this is what it was working for.
I like this pool
is it.
better.
Hey,
Yeah.
man,
This is it.
did we win? We won life. And I've known people that have done that. And as humans, they're good people. You obviously hope they're not on your team because it eats up a massive amount of your salary cap. But as humans, you're like, once you see them, you're like, okay, I can see how you would just want to fucking, ooh.
Oh no.
Don, did you get that?
Boy, Don.
All right. Diggs, whatever happens to you is going to happen to me. I was a little bit too relaxed, so I was about to get in a good one right there. You can see how you could fornicate and just like eating
2 hours of sleep will do that too.
every donut you see or pizza that you see and not want to go sprint at your house in the off season when nobody's watching, you know? You can see how people would be like, oh man, this hot tub.
Is it more impressive for people like J.J. Watt and Peyton Manning who did then get paid and continue to just
Tom Brady.
work? Tom Brady.
Tom
yeah.
Brady is a perfect because not only is he very wealthy, his lady also has earned a massive amount of cash. That family is set up for at least, I'd say, 15 generations.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say that probably 15 generations.
They probably have $1 billion together, right?
I would assume they're getting close.
Yeah.
With
Gotta be close.
And I assume they have businesses that we have no idea about,
Yeah.
let alone the
For
TB12 thing that's already opening in other cities. And as soon as that, granted, everybody hates the Patriots. Everybody, because of the top of the mountain effect that happens. You know, people like throw rocks at shiny things. Mm-hmm. Taylor Swift said that. Just like it's such a profound. I want to make sure I gave credit. But I think if that TB12 thing opened across the cities, across the country, especially with how many high school parents want their kids to be the best athlete and go to scholarships and all that stuff, I think you'd have a lot of people that be TB12 members immediately. That thing's going to make bank. There's people making a lot of money that have nowhere near the resume Tom Brady in that particular field just because they specialize in how to do this or how to do that. If that thing goes national, he's going to just make money forever. So the fact that he's still in the offseason is throwing balls in his backyard at a rapid rate. Now, granted, not going to OTAs. A lot of people are like, some people who want to hate on Tom Brady are like, oh, he has to be there, blah, blah, blah. I like the fact that Belichick, by the way, lets him say, like, says to him, like, hey, here's the days we're going to need you here. Everything else, I understand you're in this for 25, 30 years, and this is pretty much a waste of time. And actually, it would help us to coach the other guys during these time periods so we can really find out what we got, by the way. Which might be why Jacoby, Jimmy G, and everybody that comes out of there is so good, because they probably, that's something to think about. Whenever Tom Brady's not in the building during the offseason and he's in LA,
They get the reps.
They get all the reps, all the coaching, all everything. So they're like a starter basically in New England there for a little bit. That's an interesting thought. I should probably do more research before I say things like that.
Hey,
But
let
that's,
it fly.
that's probably real. And I think that's why Aaron Donald is so good, though, because he's so rich, and I don't think he's stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
But when you have that type of success, I would assume if you're into that type of thing, it gets going. Where's 2 Chainz, too, I think, right? Which I respect.
Yeah.
Little swag.
Hey, something you'll love too. Something we don't even do, and we work in this world. I'm not even sure what it is. Tom Brady has now made a TikTok, and his first video on it was hilarious.
Hey, so TikTok, I've heard this app. It's for the youngs. Mm-hmm. But I heard it's a massive app globally.
It is.
So, and I guess they basically tell you what they want you to make videos of. So, like, okay, here's the challenge, do this. So that's why there's a lot of those videos. And whenever they when the TikTok videos show up on Twitter or on Instagram, people are like, that's the weirdest things. I guess that's like their world, though. Their world is making weird videos, and it's like different challenges and different trends and stuff like that. So whenever that stuff makes its way to another world, like Twitter, and I look at it, I'm like, okay, quick note to self, never go on TikTok ever. And then somebody was like teaching me up about it. I think it was at that WWE Watch Along event. There was a kid that basically his entire music career is because of TikTok. He just releases songs on there. And I guess he said that Old Town Road got so big because of TikTok, because it was like one of the challenges. It was like, do this on there. So I guess like that's the thing. Everybody makes the same type of video, and it's just whichever one's the best gets going. But whenever you have those weird-ass challenges, when that gets to another platform, it could be like, those TikTok people.
Yeah, it's like a world of ice bucket challenges, but not for any good reason. It's just for like clout and
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, and also for something to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some times where I would assume people want to post something because everybody's posting something. They enjoy posting something. They like seeing the likes, seeing the numbers, even though Instagram might be doing away with that, which is insanity, that is still being a conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, man. At some point, somebody has to learn to think some things just suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in sports, we have to keep score. Like that is something that has to happen. We have to have a winner. We have to have a loser. We have to know that if this particular post, nobody's liking it, nobody's doing anything, don't post stuff like this anymore. We don't want to see it. Keep that stuff personal. Send it in group text messages. I think like the hearts, they have a place in this.
Oh, yeah.
Not just to make people feel good. Now, granted, there's a lot of bad stuff that gets a lot of likes. And I don't think that's good news. And there's probably people that feel bad that their stuff doesn't get liked. But let me tell you what, when you don't get a job, whenever you suck at something in future life, whenever you mess up something in a relationship and you have to deal with failure for your first time, maybe learning on social media that your posts suck was a good time to start learning that sometimes you're going to fail. I think this is something that is a wild thing, and I don't like that the hearts are potentially disappearing off Instagram.
No.
Because I'm just starting to get into Instagram, and I don't know what people want to see and what they don't want to see, so the likes are in a
It's important for you.
It is an immediate, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is not what I'm doing. Okay, if I post something like this in the future, people probably aren't going to like it. But if it's for me, who gives a damn? And that's what I do. So it's like, it's a nice learning thing, and I think you have to have that. But I think we're going to get into the TikTok game as well. And I said that like a month ago, and we never did it. But let's assume maybe in another month or two. Gary Vee told me, he yelled at his camera and told me that I should be on TikTok immediately. Everybody should be on TikTok. And nice. Old Don in Culver City told me we needed a break 6 minutes ago. In my ear. It's like, hey, I need a break. And Don's a good guy, by the way.
He is a good guy.
Don is the only connection we really have to Westwood One on most days. Mm-hmm. And he's normally the one telling us whether we're going to get connected or not 5 seconds before we go on air. I think that's all going to get fixed, though.
Yeah, sure it will.
Kirk. Attaboy, Don. Appreciate you, buddy. That was just to our ear, though, so nobody heard it. So, Don, making the show worse. The Kirk Cousins ordeal, I may have came around, by the way. And this is what I think people are going to learn about me. I am either 100% right or I'm willing to learn.
Hey, it's good quality.
Okay? I am not a guy that's going to go down with the ship. If the ship is sinking and I learn that there's a hole in the thing, I'm going to go ahead and start blowing up my little raft, and I'm going to hop on that thing and figure out the ship that I should get on.
You're going to put that violin down.
Yes.
Hey, as time passes and new information becomes available, opinions can change.
From different sources, which we got sources.
Lots of them.
One in particular that's a tall, bald guy who knows a lot about the NFL. And I trust him.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about Kirk Cousins on the other side. This is going to be interesting for me. I got to figure out how I'm going to word this. And I don't really know how I feel yet. So I'm going to figure that out. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. That music right there is an absolute heater, Nick. What's the name of it?
That was called Floppy Hair.
Nice. And the description says?
Driving, anthemic, and uplifting indie rock.
Who?
Uplifting indie rock. If I can provide some complete transparency here, I was listening to a clip during the break of you talking about Tom Brady, and just kind of went on shuffle there, and that's what came up.
And we shuffle around a website that is called?
What is it called? That's a good question. Audionetwork.com.
And these are all copyright-free songs because to get the rights to play actual music, $3 million.
Which is a lot of $1 million.
That's not just $1 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of them.
Some would say that's a slew of millions of dollars. I don't know if that's an accurate statement or not. Okay, big time moment in my take life here. Something we've been hammering all week is that Kirk Cousins
stinks.
We think he's an absolute
stooge and sellout.
That sellout is literally just words falling out of Ty Schmidt's mouth.
The best.
That is absolutely in tribute of a guy named Mark Madden who does Pittsburgh radio, who might have been, is he before Skip Bayless?
In terms of hot takes, you mean?
Just his character.
Yeah, I think so.
Mark Madden is one of the best radio characters of all time. People either 1,000% hate him or 1,000% love him. And whenever you're a wrestling character, which he was with WCW.
Vintage, it's molded from an old radio host and Ric Flair. It's a combination of those two personalities.
And it is awesome. And I grew up in Pittsburgh. We got a chance to know him. He was actually Nick's high school deck hockey coach, which were world champions, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to talk about it because I'm such a humble guy, but it was a big deal at the time.
I don't remember anybody talking about it when it happened.
I mean, there were articles published. You know, you can Google it. It's out there.
Field Hockey Magazine.
Valley News Dispatch.
Please have some respect. It's not field hockey.
I went in.
Deck hockey.
Also known as ball hockey.
Yeah.
And
street hockey in some circles.
Yeah. Nick was really good. And Mark was his coach. So literally known Mark a long time. And his ratings somehow go up every single month. And he was the first guest on this show.
Yep.
And he just saw his people down. And Ty just learned about him here recently. Much like my brand new learning of Mike Francesa, I feel like this is kind of what it's like. And, I mean, it's just awesome calling people a
stooge and sellout.
Every time you say sellout, it gets more disgusting.
He really sells out for the word sellout.
He does, which is absolutely good. Anyways, I kind of feel like a
stooge and sellout
because my take on Kirk Cousins is coming around. After one conversation with Matt Hasselbeck that you can hear right now on the Pat McAfee Show 2.0 podcast that just came out today, Ty edited it until about 4:30 a.m. if I had to guess.
Yep, that's right.
It's very nice of you to do that, Ty. Me and Ty are running on a combined 4.5 hours of sleep after last night's travels back from Greenville. And I'll tell you what, can't even tell, I bet. can't even tell.
It's not just last night. I mean, we had a real late night the night before as well. So in the last 48 hours, we're running on a combined like 3.5 hours of sleep.
Okay, so my take on old Kirk Cousins has almost 180'd here. And some people would say 360, but not me because I'm a professional. 360 is a circle. You're going in the same way. Mm-hmm. And I don't like talking circles here. I'm either walking one way or if somebody tells me, I'm going to go ahead and turn around and walk the other way. I'm going to turn around as quick as the Tomb of the Unknown soldiers,
Ooh.
where they clack,
Respect.
turn. Some of the most incredible stuff to watch in history.
For sure.
Maybe it's not Kirk Cousins' fault in Minnesota Vikings. Maybe it's Mike Zimmer's offensive strategy, his offensive scheme. He's only thrown the ball in the first game 12 times, but they won, so you can't say anything. And Mike Zimmer is who Thielen is mad about. That's why he said, like, hey, we can't just run the ball every time. We have to have a throwing offense. We have to do this. That was potentially, if we flip about it and think about it as a talk to the head coach Zimmer, who wants to run the ball all game and only throw it 12 times, when you have Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Rudolph, Dalvin Cook, who could potentially catch balls out of the backfield, and Kirk Cousins with $84 million guaranteed, then everything changes. Then it's like, wait, was that a shot at Kirk Cousins? Or maybe maybe it wasn't a shot at Kirk Cousins. Maybe that was a shot at Zimmer. And then Stephon Diggs is like, I'm out of here, dog. And then he heard everything that Kirk Cousins said about Adam Thielen. And Stephon Diggs is like, wait a minute, dog. I'm also only getting 2 targets a game. I'm pretty good. I got a lot of money, and you're sending me out. So not only is this coach not want me to catch the ball, now my quarterback doesn't even think I'm a good wide receiver, basically, is what he could potentially take that as. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I'm out of here. What if that's what it is? And now I'm completely mind blown and cluster trucked. I don't know what to believe. But if I'm Kirk Cousins, now I almost feel bad for him because he has no chance of getting into a rhythm. Oh, boy. Is that Chris Mannix on?
I had to restart the computer here. We're trying. We're trying here.
Hey, to your point there.
But what if that is the case? What if Kirk Cousins is just in a terrible spot here and everybody thinks they're taking shots at him when really it's not? It's at the offensive strategy here.
Last year, Diggs and Thielen, through 4 weeks, had 99 targets. This year, through 4 weeks, combined, they have 41 targets. Thielen has 34 less targets through 4 weeks. Diggs has 24 less targets through 4 weeks.
Matt Hasselbeck painted this picture for like 20 minutes on the podcast today that you can go download right now, wherever podcasts are. And he said it in such a better way than I could. But it made me like in the middle of it, I was like thinking, oh my, are you serious right now? Like, that's making me change my thoughts all of a sudden. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is this nerd that we talk about. I don't know if this Kirk Cousins guy, because if you're only throwing the ball 12 times a game, and you're only throwing the ball a couple times a game, sometimes quarterbacks need to get in rhythm no matter how bad they are. What if Kirk Cousins is just a not so bad quarterback that I've painted him out to be the last couple of days, and it's all the problem of the coaching style and the strategy? I don't know. You need to listen to Matt talk about it, though, because he talks about how you have to finesse egos and everything like that. It's worth it, and I'm telling you what, I think by Monday I'll have a full take on it. But right now, I want to let everybody know I'm conflicted.
Is that why I got rid of Keenum?
Let it marinate a little bit.
He was like, I like what Keenum's doing. He's having a lot of success. He throws the ball a lot. We're just going to go with somebody that I can design a scheme for that throws way less.
Yeah, I think so.
Great.
Well,
that sounds.
I think the original offensive coordinator, Matt said, was a pass-happy guy. He gets fired, literally, in the middle of the season. They bring in another guy, and they're like, hey, listen. Have to listen to it from Hasselbeck. Changed my mind almost. I don't know. I'm conflicted. We'll see how he does. We got to pivot now because this weekend there's a big-time human boxing match. 2 humans will go into a ring on Saturday night with all the hype, glitz, and glamour in Madison Square Garden, and they will attempt to utilize their leather gloves as weapons and beat the hell out of their opponent. And one of them's name is Triple G, and he's one of the most electric fighters in the history of fighting. Joining us now, a DAZN boxing analyst, also a writer for Sports Illustrated, I think, Chris Mannix. Let's go, Chris.
What's going on, Pat?
Hey, Chris, this is a FaceTime. This is pretty nice. I like this. We had no idea if this FaceTime was going to work, so I'm happy it went through.
I wasn't clear either. There was probably about 6 or 7 attempts to make it work before we actually connected there.
That's kind of like our show every day, believe it or not. Every single day, that's kind of the thought on whether or not it's going to happen. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, I'm kind of a newbie, an amateur to boxing, but I do know the name Triple G because the pop culture knows that. But this upcoming Saturday, he's in a fight against Lomachenko. And what should people be expecting of that? And why is this fight going to be must-see only on DAZN?
That's like a Seinfeldian cover your mouth like Evachenko. His last name there. Golovkin, for people that have followed him since 2012, has just been this sort of phenomena, comes stateside from Europe and just starts knocking guys out. Now, he kind of hit the mainstream in the last couple of years.
Golovkin?
Golovkin.
Yeah, it's his last name.
Oh my God! See, I didn't know that. He's Triple G, man. That is
right. One of the G's stands for Golovkin. That's correct.
That's
nice.
On me.
Nice. Look,
great
most
brand.
people have kind of picked up on him in the last 2 years in his fights against Canelo Alvarez. He's facing questions now at 37 years old if he is still a high-level fighter. We saw his last fight on DAZN against Steve Rolls. He knocked Steve Rolls out in the 4th round, but he took some punishment in that fight. I think this is the kind of fight where we're going to see if Golovkin's still at a high level.
Okay, and he's fighting against Mr. Chenko. the fight is going to be one that people are saying, is it going to be a fast and furious one? Is it going to be a meticulous one? Is he going to be a cerebral assassin in there? Are they going to be throwing? What's it going to be like?
That's a tremendous blending of two words to make matriculous out of a sentence there. I like that.
I do it on TV all the time.
Stylistically, it's a great fight. Sometimes Gennady fights guys that kind of move away from him and don't want to engage because of all his power. But Derevyanchenko is going to be there. His style is to take the fight to his opponent. People saw him fight about a year ago against Daniel Jacobs on HBO. He had a great performance there. He is going to push the fight and make Gennady fight in the center of the ring, and that's exactly where he wants to fight. So if you're looking for a fight that will have a lot of action in it, I think this one is it.
Okay, are you going to drop all the G's subtly in all your answers?
100%.
I can respect that so much. I'm so intrigued by the boxing road because the training is so hard. It's so precise. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to your craft, and there's a lot of danger involved, and I'm excited to get into it. What's the environment going to be like at Madison Square Garden on Saturday? Because I believe we're going to be there, and I can't wait for it. I'm pretty pumped up.
Yeah, Golovkin has made kind of MSG his home. He started off fighting in the theater at the Garden and has been graduating to the big rooms there. He fought his last fight in the big room. It was a great crowd. I mean, they're very supportive of him in that environment. It's one of when he was negotiating with Canelo last year, or earlier this year, I say, for the third fight, one of the holdups in those negotiations was that Golovkin wanted the fight at the Garden because he feels like that's more of his home turf. So I think you'll see an incredibly pro-Golovkin crowd at the Garden on Saturday.
Okay, I can't wait for that. There's a bunch of undercard fights I think that are going to be incredible as well, as what I'm being told. DAZN puts on good fights, so I'd assume that is the case. It should be electric there. You got Triple G winning, I assume, yep?
Yeah, I mean, I have him winning, but I think more important, Pat, for the future of Canelo stuff, and that's what it always ties back to with Triple G, is how does he win? Like, he might be able to win a wide decision against Derevyanchenko, but I don't think that moves him closer or moves the needle to get him that Canelo fight. I think he's got to go out there and just flatten this guy. And I think he has that mindset coming in. I think he's got to go out and win by mid-round knockout to really send a message and create kind of a bigger buzz to get that Canelo fight to happen next year.
That's awesome, because my first thought would be anytime you get in there, I'm going for a knockout. And it turns out that's not always the case. I guess there is a lot of strategy and style. Pumped to be
But
there.
it's like, it's funny. I think the same thing often. But recently, this guy, Demetrius Andrade, who always fights on DAZN or has fought on DAZN last few times, he said something interesting to me. He said, you want me to go out there and get into a war. You want me to win by knockout, by, exposing myself. Are you going to come visit me in the hospital afterwards? Are you going to pay my bills afterwards? That's how he explains fighting a more less than crowd friendly style, because he doesn't want to get hurt. And I respect that. I mean, you play football, you know how that goes. I mean, we are thirsty for the big hits or thirsty for the big punches in boxing, but we don't really care all that much about what happens after the fact.
Yeah, that's kind of been the way it has been forever. I mean, gladiator times, that's just kind of what it is. It's like, hey, let's have these two barbarians go after each other for our entertainment. Now that science and stats and news is coming out about the future of a lot of these people, I think we're a much more woke society that care about that. So I think I can appreciate and respect that. Speaking about caring about people, man, yesterday some wild news came to the sports journalism world about a place that you work at right now. Sports Illustrated made headlines yesterday, and there's a lot of disgruntled employees, obviously. I don't ever want to put anybody on the spot to say anything, but do you have any statement on that entire situation?
I mean, just what it was. It was hard. And unfortunately, I've spent the better part of the last 2 decades, working at SI. I've been in print media for, all of those last 2 decades. And this is just kind of the way it goes sometimes. It's not my first, round of layoffs to go through. This one was obviously, I think, a little more painful than others because of the scale of what happened there. But, print media continues to be kind of in flux right now. And stuff like this, unfortunately, has to happen. The only saving grace I have in all of it is that I know every one of those people that got laid off, and they're all ridiculously talented people who are going to find jobs sometime in the immediate future.
Yeah, we're in a content creating world right now. So if you have a talent like everybody that works at Sports Illustrated, you'll be able to find a home, which is good news. But those traditional sites, these traditional things that were almost like a steadfast of your entire life growing up. Sports Illustrated was I mean, that was a massive thing in everybody's life, whether you were a magazine reader or not. Sports Illustrated said something, it meant something. Now we just live in a whole new world where content is consumed in different areas. And I think adapt or die mentality has to happen for a lot of these older type industries that maybe won't do it a little bit. But the good thing for the workers is the talent will carry through somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is an adapt or die, and everyone's trying to figure out how exactly to adapt. Is it put stuff behind a paywall, which maybe should have been done for everybody back in the early 2000s when the internet kind of came about? Is it give everything away for free and, be based on advertising? I mean, I think even now, sort of 20 years after the internet became, a big thing, we're still trying to figure it out in this business, not just in print, but TV, radio, everywhere else. Everyone's trying to figure out what the right mix is.
This is why I think Vince McMahon is the most underrated business genius in the history of the world. Whenever he made the WWE network and made it a subscription base, everybody called him an idiot. When he took away his pay-per-views, they're still available, but offered his pay-per-views that are normally $60 a pop just for $9.99 a month, everybody's like, this guy is dumb. Nobody's going to pay for this content that's behind the thing. Now everybody is trying to catch up and make it a subscription-based deal, but you got to have stuff that people really want to see in a subscription-based deal. And if you're a free company for a long time and you decide to go over to subscription, you're going to be met with a little bit of fight back from your people that are like, oh, so now we're supposed to pay for it. But we live in
which by the way, Pat, is a little mind-boggling.
Oh,
yes. You and I grew up, buying papers. When you paid for it, like you went out and bought yourself a newspaper to read what your favorite columnist or your favorite reporter was writing about that day. I mean, the one thing, and I don't, Twitter, whatever, it doesn't drive me that crazy that often. I just take it for what it's worth. But when I hear the bemoaning about, oh my God, I have to pay $3 a month for a subscription to The Athletic or to Washington Post, the New York Times. I mean, that's what you did back in the day. You paid, for people to actually do the work. So I think that model eventually has to be the one that wins out.
Well, and also, though, I would argue for the people on the internet that are saying they're not going to pay it is there's so much free stuff out there that people, although it's not as legitimate as incredible journalists like yourself and everybody else at Sports Illustrated, you got a lot of bloggers that are doing stuff for free. So it's an interesting world where it's like you got to just kind of figure out your lane. And with these older companies, you think they have a lot of money, they'll be able to figure it out. A lot of companies haven't been able to do it because I don't think there is an actual answer. There isn't like an algorithm. There isn't a thing like you do this, then this happens. Everything is so hit or miss these days. And you just kind of got to hope.
But it goes back to your original point where you've got to separate yourself with really good stuff. I mean, I subscribe to the Washington Post. I subscribe to the New York Times. The LA Times has done some great stuff in boxing the last couple of years. I subscribe to them for that. I subscribe to The Athletic. I mean, you've got to give people a reason to subscribe. I just don't like the whole, the blanket, feeling that we shouldn't have to pay for anything. That's not how the world works. People are out there doing a job.
But those people are also paying for Netflix or paying for everything else. So those people, they
cut your cable cord then. I mean, that's my direct ability to lie anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, DAZN is worth every penny, especially because this upcoming Saturday is going to be incredible. Sorry to hear what happened to your peers over there at Sports Illustrated. They'll find a good home, though. Chris Mannix, can't wait to see you on Saturday night, Madison Square Garden. I think old Galvin Galtland.
Do you want to join us on the broadcast? Do you want to do trial and error? We can make that happen.
Triple G is such a good brand. Triple G is such a good brand. It's a good name. It's and he's an incredibly talented fighter. I can't wait to watch him in person and learn more about boxing. And I thank you for educating me, Chris. I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Mannix. We got to get to a break. It is 10:45 here, Friday, October 4th. We'll be back on the other side, wrapping up hour one. Michael Cole from the WWE is in hour two.
Let's go.
He never talks to anybody. Never talks to anybody. I cannot wait to just... I can't wait. He is a hilarious individual who almost kicked me out for WrestleMania because I was wearing tuxedo shirts. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
Body's moving slow, spinning in the afterglow. Got it feeling so good. 'Cause this love is all night. This love is all right. This love is all night. This love is all right. Beat the edge just like a fire, we can't control it. Explosions in the sky. Moving faster than the sun over the horizon. Can't see all the feeling high. Beat the edge just like a fire, we can't control it. Explosions in the sky. Moving faster than the sun over the horizon. Can't see all the feeling high. Body's moving slow, spinning in the afterglow, dancing till the daylight. 'Cause this love is all night. This love is all right. This love is all night. This love is all right. Beat the edge just like a fire, we can't control it. Explosions in the sky.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. This is quite a banger. We blew right through a commercial break there while talking to Chris Mannix. I assume that this is probably a pretty heightened drive time as well, though. So those last 5 minutes being in a commercial probably not the best for our business. So I apologize for that. But that was a good conversation there with Chris Mannix, man. I like Chris Mannix a lot. I think I learned a lot about boxing right there. And also, I learned a lot about Sports Illustrated inside there. Sad day yesterday for Sports Illustrated folks. Robert Klemko did not take it quietly either, by the way. He went in there and talented writer, friendly guy. I got a chance to meet him. I think he chugs things fast, too, so I respect that. Good writer. He put out a tweet out and was like, BT Dub, nobody that bought the company that laid us all off even showed up. Just kind of like a little bit of a stab there, which I can respect. You get laid off. I do think they're all talented, though, and they'll find places to
For
go.
sure.
All right, we have no idea if this phone is going to work or not. They've had people from Westwood One in here working on this. Every single time we've attempted to talk to somebody on the phone via a guest, or not a guest, a fan, audience, 1-833-622-3331. The system is either crashed, I've been muted, they've been muted. It sounds like they come out of an aquarium. We're about a month into the show now, and I'm being told that it's going to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Peyton. Peyton from Pittsburgh, what's up, buddy? It just never, it never ever fails.
Peyton, come on.
Do you think it's Peyton?
Sounds like he can't hear us.
Yeah, it's not Peyton. This is just something that I'm sure every other radio show in the country has to deal with on a regular basis. This is just
Here, I'll be Peyton.
Wait, hello?
oh,
Hey,
Peyton.
There we go. There. That's on me. I apologize. That's on me. That's not you. All right.
Peyton. Oh my!
He's trying to sabotage the show.
Are you you're Damon Amendola's? You're from Damon Amendola's
No.
show.
All right. I was going out there for a second. So what I was talking about.
What do you mean you're going out? Are you falling asleep during the show? Hey, is this show not good enough, Peyton?
No, I was going off for a second. I was really hyped up, and I realized my mic was muted because I was playing the harmonica, and I didn't want to get on the air and play the harmonica on the air. So
That's not a real story.
Oh, yeah.
If you play the harmonica in 2019, you are a legend, Peyton. What do you want to talk about? We only got like
So
a
I was
minute.
talking about referees and umpires. I think referees should turn the game of football into a game of stop signs and red lights. Not just because of the amount of penalties they have, because of how long it takes a referee to do the right thing. So I think there's one main solution. I think we get Elon Musk to give us the technology for the AI and time travel.
Yep.
And with the AI, we speed up the length of how long it takes to review a play. With time travel, if there's a bad injury like Austin Collie had, we go back in time, stop the play, stop the injury, apply the penalty. But no matter what the solution is, we need to get these referees like Alberto Riveron and Walt Anderson out. Like these old, decrepit, fossilized bones we call referees. They look like raisins that kids suck on just for the chocolate and then spit them out because no one actually wants them.
I'll tell you what, Peyton. You lost me there with the AI timing thing with Austin, but you really came back strong there with the raisin reference. I mean, Peyton is a savage of an individual. He's terrible at answering calls. But, I mean, these refs, though, they're getting crushed for last night's Clay Matthews hit, as they should, man. And, by the way, the one that I went off about on Alberto Riveron,
Yeah.
the NFL came out and said, yeah, we were wrong. So,
Of course.
I think Goodell listens to this show, by the way.
Probably
Goodell,
does.
Here's what I need from you, bub. I just want to be able to put in my Twitter bio, NFL advisor. That's all I want to do.
I
Breaking
don't think
news.
it's too much to ask.
Breaking news on the other side.
What? That's a tease from our guy Diggs. 10:55, October 4th, 2019. We're a real show. We can take calls and stuff. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
It's the perfect occasion for a mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication. 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is Chase Rice. Thank you for that song that you created for us. And he is on tour right now. I wonder if he plays that during his set.
I assume so.
Better.
If he wants the crowd to
Hey,
get going.
That's what I want the curtain call to be. Know what it's called? What's it called? A curtain call?
When they come back
Yep.
on
The
stage?
encore?
On.
I think curtain
Curtain
call.
call
Same
works.
I
thing.
think
Yeah.
the same thing.
Curtain call's a little bit more professional. I'm a big time theater guy. I've seen
Yeah.
Hamilton. No big deal. Aaron Burr, terrible guy. Didn't know
Yeah.
if you know that or not. Todd and I saw Hamilton. We're the most cultured people in there, probably.
Oh, yeah. No question.
We were sitting in the Lincoln suites too.
That's not good.
Uh-huh.
It's not good. We were on the other side though, so we would have seen it. We would have seen it
Front row.
Yeah, we would have seen what happened.
Mind-blowing experience.
Whoa, dude.
I don't even know if you're allowed to say that.
That's. I hope.
Speaking
Don-
of mind-blowing experiences, yesterday I had a conversation with Matt Hasselbeck that is on today's podcast, Pat McAfee Show 2.0 podcast. Download it where all podcasts are. And it was literally a conversation between Matt Hasselbeck, who is of NFL royalty. He was a ball boy for the Patriots as a child because his dad, he's been in the NFL forever. So he knows everything about everybody, tells stories about everybody. He's a wealth of knowledge. And this week, we've been saying that Kirk Cousins,
Stinks.
that he's nothing but a
Stooge and a sellout.
We met an Australian guy down in Memphis, and he said that Kirk Cousins.
Well, he's a bit of a stooge and a sellout, but outside of that, if he finds himself walking around anywhere, they're not liking him right now. He might get his throat slashed, he might get roughed up, probably get his wallet stolen, but outside of that, he's still a pretty good quarterback, I think.
And then we even got a chance yesterday off the record. We went to Oakland and we ran into Coach Gruden, and Coach Gruden said about Kirk Cousins that.
Yeah, the guy stinks, man. I mean, I'd rather have Nathan Peterman throw it left-handed than play Kirk Cousins.
And we had agreed with all those people until this conversation with Hasselbeck that kind of put my mind in what we like to call a puzzle. Nope.
Pretzel.
Same. P and Z's, L's in there and E's. 2.5 hours of sleep. You get it. Complete pretzel, though. Auntie Anne's up here. Oh. I mean, we're watching it. I actually watched my brain get tossed like the dough does at the little mall things in front of the mirror, in front of the glass thing. It is one of those things like watching sand fall through an hourglass.
Oh, yeah.
Or watching the pendulum swing back and forth with the balls. Watching that pretzel roller tosser throw it up perfectly and time it and land it in a perfect pretzel form is almost mesmerizing as a vitamin up high school kid walking around the mall. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I watched my brain do that while Matt Hasselbeck was talking about the entire Minnesota Vikings situation. I watched my brain just go, well, I don't know what to think. Mike Zimmer, defensive head coach, all defensive head coach, except for Belichick somehow, has the same mind. Now the Patriots even have the same mindset. Got to be able to run the ball. Got to be able to stop the run. That's just how defensive coaches are. You're talking about super football guys that all they care about is burning the clock whenever they have the ball and their defense getting stops. Let's get on the field. Let's get off the field. That's what it's all about. All defensive coordinators feel that way, that end up in positions of power. Chuck Pagano wanted that to happen. It was just impossible because we had Andrew Luck. There for a couple of years while Chuck was the head coach early, while we were having success, Chuck on numerous occasions said we have to run the ball more, and I think that's because Chuck didn't like seeing Andrew Luck just get beat up. And that could potentially have been the case. So Chuck could have been, listen, we all see it. We all see it. The kid from Stanford is just getting the crap kicked out of him. If we run the ball a little bit, maybe we shave him for 10 years in the NFL instead of 8 years. And you're all going to think I'm crazy, but this is, in a couple of years, you're going to say, Chuck Pagano, smart guy.
It could also be because the GM traded like 3 first-round picks for a guy who had no idea what a hole was.
Yeah, and that, even more evident of focusing on running the ball in defensive football. Zimmer fired his last offensive coordinator that he had in the middle of the season because he had a bunch of passes in that game and they lost. Literally fired the guy the next day. See you later. Don't need you. Bring in a new offensive coordinator. And the shift has been 100% to running ball. It's almost as if the coordinator was told, like, hey, you either run ball or you run out of the building. You do not have a job. First game, they had 12 pass attempts. Kirk Cousins was 10 of 12. Those are high school football numbers. Those are quarterbacks that aren't good numbers. I should have done a little bit more research and seen this, but I didn't. And when Hasselbeck started to open my eyes to all of this stuff that he did in the podcast today for 25 minutes, just kind of painting a story on why this all happens, it makes me wonder, is this all Mike Zimmer's fault? Is Adam Thielen in that press conference after the game talking about them having to be a balanced team? They can't just run the ball for 175 yards. You have to be able to complete passes. Everybody's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Shots fired at the nerd. Shots fired at Kirk Cousins. Oh. What if that was not a shot at Kirk Cousins? What if that was a shot at the head coach saying, hey, listen, we got a lot of weapons here. We need to start throwing the ball. Everybody knows Adam Thielen is a competitive dude. He's worked very hard to get where he is. He's a weapon for that Vikings offense whenever they use him. And I think he has earned the right to be able to speak a little bit. I don't like how public it is. I talked about that. I don't like how public it is. But sometimes as a player, the only way you can force anything is if you say it out loud. Granted, it might be awkward for a little bit. But what if he was talking to Mike Zimmer and not Kirk Cousins? And what if when Kirk Cousins came out and apologized to Adam Thielen and talked about how great he was, and that upset Stephon Diggs? Stephon Diggs was like, I'm on a team that doesn't throw the ball, and when we do throw the ball, the quarterback thinks I'm much worse than the other guy that catches the ball here. What if Stephon Diggs, now granted, I don't think you should ever miss work. I wouldn't have done it, but Stephon Diggs obviously had it in his heart to do that. What if this all revolves around that? That's an interesting way to look at it.
Very interesting.
That's why I'm in a full pretzel right now. Full pretzel.
And the OC, Kevin Stefanski, has been in Minnesota since 2006. So he's not a guy who wants to lose his job with the Minnesota Vikings, so he will do whatever Zimmer wants.
He's probably got a good house up there in Lake Minnetonka. You know what I mean? He's got I think there's a bunch of older coaches, too, around him that have all been head coaches and had power. Right? I think Kubiak's up there. I think there's other people up there. I think there's a lot of people on that staff that have power. I'm intrigued by it all, man, because that's going to be a real talking point, especially if they continue to lose or whatever. That's going to be a real talking point. Now, I'm a professional talk show host, so I do transitions in just fantastic fashions, and that's what we're in right now. We're in a transition to a conversation about something else. And tonight on Fox, for the first time on network television in a long, long, long time, the WWE is making a big-time play and debuting Friday Night SmackDown Live on Fox this evening. At 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock tonight, your entire routine has changed. I used to watch Dateline. Who done it? Who killed her? Not anymore. Now I'm going to listen to this man speak into a microphone in beautiful fashion. He's been the voice of the WWE for over 2 decades. He was with them before they went public. He stuck with them through the entire thing. One of the main characters in becoming a global billion-dollar operation of the WWE, former political correspondent, now play-by-play commentator for the WWE, Michael Cole.
Am I on camera?
Yep. Everybody can see you. You look great.
Oh, hi, guys.
It's a really good
this
angle.
Is amazing. I remember the first time I watched your show. I think it was your first show, the first radio show you did. I think you had Aaron Rodgers on.
Yep.
And, you couldn't see or hear anything. So you guys have upgraded.
Michael, we didn't know if we were even going to be able to connect this call with you today. Yesterday, I had a moment where I questioned everything we were doing. I'm happy we were able to connect and see your beautiful face from Los Angeles right now. Hey, this is a monumental day for the WWE. You've moved to working SmackDown exclusively whenever you were on Raw for 2 decades. First off, how was Monday night not talking? And also, how excited are you for tonight?
Pat, it was surreal this past Monday. I had done Raw for 11 and a half years, a decade on SmackDown before that. And it was really weird showing up at the building in Phoenix on Monday and realizing that I actually didn't have to prepare to go on the air. It was odd, but it was awesome to work with the guys. I mean, Vic Joseph, Dio Madden, and again, Jerry the King Lawler, having him back on the air. I really thought they hit it out of the park and kicked off our premiere week in a pretty darn good way. But I'll tell you, I'm excited for tonight. You know me, Pat. We've joked around. We've had a good time for a few years now, and I think after nearly 25 years in this business, you get a little cynical about a lot of things. You don't get excited much anymore. But I'm as excited today as I've been probably since my match at WrestleMania a decade ago. I cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun.
If you haven't seen Michael Cole in his singlet from that match he's speaking about, go ahead and do yourself a favor and Google that right now. SmackDown on Fox is big news, massive news. This is a big deal for the company. We're back on.
Pat, this is, and you've been around us now for a couple of years. This is, as you said, massive. I've accomplished just about everything in my career in WWE. I'm very proud and humbled and honored to have been a part of so many great things here. The one thing that was on my bucket list that I get to check off tonight is actually being on one of the big four networks on a regular basis. This is pretty cool. Thank you. We did Saturday Night Main Event on NBC a couple of years ago, I think it was, and that was fun. But, to do this regularly every night, and Fox has been such a great partner for us. Everywhere you look on Fox the past number of weeks, it's been WWE. You watched a football game last night. Roman Reigns was on at halftime. The Rock's coming back tonight for the 20th anniversary. It's so much. It's exciting. The whole company. I was actually having dinner last night with Eric Bischoff, who is the creative director for SmackDown, and we were both talking. And obviously, everyone who follows wrestling knows what Eric Bischoff's accomplished. And we were both talking last night about how this is one of the top 3 moments probably in our careers. What's going to happen tonight? It's pretty exciting.
Eric Bischoff, formerly of WCW fame back in the day, and then he joined with the WWF, WWE. Great wrestling mind. In the thought that Vince McMahon allowed Paul Heyman to do Monday Night Raw and Eric Bischoff to be involved with SmackDown was a big-time decision. How has the company been handling that, and have you enjoyed the splitting of the 2 shows, basically, it feels like?
So I think, the past few months it's sort of been some growing pains. Everything, the buck always stops, and still does with Vince McMahon. Let's not kid ourselves. He's the chairman of the company. The man's a genius. So, the buck stops with him. But I think putting 2 completely different people in place, and let's not make no mistake about it, Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are completely different people. Their personalities are different. The way they go about their business is different. And I think what's going to happen now is with the draft coming next week, and for those that don't follow our product, we're doing a big-time draft starting next Friday on SmackDown and the following Monday on Raw, where we're actually going to have a lot of individuals from Fox and NBC come in and help us with this draft process, where we're going to separate our superstars. And the brands are going to be completely separate. And I think that's really, Pat, where you're going to see the creative differences in the 2 shows take off. I think SmackDown will be its own entity. Raw is going to be its own entity. And it's going to provide you with different programming for your Monday and Friday. And then when you throw NXT in the mix on Wednesdays, it's pretty exciting to be a WWE fan right now. In fact, it's exciting just to be a professional wrestling fan right now with everything that's going on.
A lot of options right now in the professional wrestling world that hasn't happened in a long time. We'll touch on that in a minute. Let me get back to me real quick. I'm pretty.
You don't change. You've never changed.
Yeah, that's a true story. I'm pretty good at announcing draft picks. Some would argue the best ever. If you guys need an announcer to a draft pick, you just let me know. I'll come out there and shut it down.
That's interesting. I remember you had a conversation with the commissioner of the NFL that was similar to a conversation that you and I had at WrestleMania.
Is this what you're wearing? Is what Roger Goodell said to me, and what Michael Cole said to me is, "There's no way this is what you're wearing."
So can we have a minute to clear up what happened that day?
Absolutely.
Everyone thought, well, I think at that moment we were probably you were either going to beat me up or you were going to quit.
Yeah.
So,
or both.
But in retrospect, listen, I think a lot of that got blown out of proportion. I think you got 2 guys who are very passionate about what they do, me and you, and it was minutes before you were going on the air for the kickoff show, and I was an hour away from going on the air for our biggest show of the year, and I think things got heated. Listen, let bygones be bygones, Pat. I love you, and we buried all that, and
yes.
The fact that you're still involved with us somehow, I thank Foxy for that. If it wasn't for Foxy, who knows what would have happened?
No. Don't give me any credit.
Yeah, Foxy gets a lot of credit for that. No. As he should, by the way. Foxy doesn't sleep, neither does Ty. But I said it in a joking fashion. I told the story in a joking fashion, and that thing got blown out. And
Oh, God.
I mean, I was definitely mad at you, though. I mean, let's not. But I'm happy we said it because, Michael Cole, you're the first person to ever let me on a network. Literally, the first person to ever let me on a network. And I'll never forget that day where I got a text message from you. It said, "This is Michael Cole. Do you have a minute to chat?" And I was like, "I don't know Michael Cole other than the WWE Michael Cole." And I said, "Monday Night Raw Michael Cole?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Yeah, I have a minute to chat." You called me like a minute later, from text to me being befuddled to a full conversation. You took a shot at me, man. I appreciate it. I'll remember that forever.
Well, yeah, and then the first show you ever did with us, when you put your legs on the table and showed you were wearing shorts, I'm like, oh my God, did I make the right decision?
I do that.
No, but we did.
Hey, I want to let you know, I wore jorts into the booth for the first Thursday Night Football game on ESPN, strictly because I felt like I had to. Just strictly, it wasn't even like yeah. I mean, it did look good. Let's not get crazy. It looked incredible, and I was like, I feel like.
What about last night?
I had shorts on, yeah.
Oh, okay, figured.
But they were my tuxedo shorts. They were the same one I was wearing. Hold on, they were the same ones I was wearing whenever you were.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Indianapolis, man. I got home like 3 a.m., 2:30, 3 a.m.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You got the jet, flies around and everything.
I earned that jet, and this would not be possible this fall without this jet. By the way, there wouldn't be anything, and I'm not sure how much money we're even going to make by the end of this thing for how much this jet costs. But it's going to be a fun ride. And this Fox, this debut is going to be big. I mean, The Rock is scheduled to come back. There's a lot of surprises in store, I assume.
Pat, there's you're going to have to watch. There.
Oh, you want to tell us what's happening? Hey, you want to tell us what's happening?
No, not yet, because I want you to watch, because it's actually going to be exciting. I cannot wait. Some of the stuff that's going to happen I don't even know about yet, but, it all kicks off at 7:30 on the East Coast. Fox has been real cool. They're producing a kickoff show for us, and there's going to be a lot of the Fox personalities on that show. Renee Young and Booker T are going to host it. Of course, those two are going to be anchoring the new Backstage show that Fox is going to be debuting in November that has to do with WWE. And then, of course, the festivities get underway at 8 o'clock. Staples is going to be sold out. You mentioned The Rock coming back. Rock is electric, and the place is going to be insane when he comes out tonight. And just to have The Rock, rub shoulders with some of our current WWE superstars is going to be pretty exciting.
Okay. You said it's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. A lot of options.
Yep.
You not a lot of options, actually. There's only a few. But you guys are taking over every market, right? You have a Backstage show on Fox. You're on Monday night, you're on Wednesday night, you're on Friday night. 3 very different shows, what you're just saying. There was an announcement that you're getting into the podcasting world. Your digital is incredible. You're making movies. The WWE global phenomenon just continues to build. It's insane. We talked to Triple H. He said one day people are going to look at WWE like they look at Marvel. That's the goal, the plan. Everything's just going to be massive. For the first time in a long time, there seems to be legitimate competition in AEW.
Yep.
What is the thought behind Michael Cole, who's an avid wrestling fan for a long time, whenever he heard AEW was going to come, when AEW was going to happen, and now that it's debuted on Wednesday?
I'm excited about it for a number of reasons. Number one, listen, people that don't follow my career, like to remind them that I started in WWE back in 1997, and that was at the start of the Monday Night Wars, and I was a part of this company in the thick of that. And I remember what competition did to this place, and I remember how everybody rallied and really wanted to make WWE the best sports entertainment product it could be. And we haven't had competition in a long time, and we have some now, and I think it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting. Listen, Cody Rhodes, his wife Brandy, I respect the hell out of them. I've known Cody for a long time. Obviously, close to his family, and Chris Jericho and the rest of the guys there. I'm really happy at what they've developed, it's different, it's fresh, it's new, but. And I know this has been said over the past couple of days, but it's true because I've been here for it. It's one thing to go out and have a great opening show. It's another thing to do episodic TV 52 weeks a year without reruns. It's a very difficult thing to do. And, I hope that they can pull it off. And if they do, it's going to be a hell of a year coming up.
It is your life. The WWE schedule is a joke. It is a absolute.
Oh my God! Now it's even worse.
Yeah, because you got to go Friday straight through to Monday, I'd assume, huh? So you're Thursday to Tuesday.
This week it's tonight is SmackDown, and then we go to Sacramento for Hell in a Cell. Most of our superstars have, I think, a live event tomorrow night. Then Hell in a Cell Sunday, and then we have Monday Night Raw on Monday, and then then NXT's Tuesday, and then we're back on the road again.
And just put that on repeat with no off season. And if you have one bad show, you'll get buried for it. Everybody, like, these are the dumbest people of all time. Maybe they were literally in just 4 different countries in the last 5 days putting on shows. Let's give them a break. But you don't get a break. You don't get a chance whenever you're the longest running episodic show in television history, which is
and SmackDown is the second longest, Pat.
So the 2 longest episodic shows in the history of television are now on Monday and Friday. I can't thank you enough for all the faith you've shown in me, for the conversations. And the only person that I texted before my first time doing broadcast and commentating was Michael Cole. The only person. I had no other friends in the commentating world. I've been rejected from the broadcast boot camp 3 times. I've tried to learn. They won't teach me. And right the night before the game, I was like, all right, this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm doing a game tomorrow, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Is there any thoughts? And you sent me like a 2-scroller, and I walked into that booth feeling like I was just going to own the thing. And I think you're the reason why I probably have the job on Thursday Night Football. Why a lot of people thought I was going to have Monday night. And I appreciate it.
I don't, because then you'd be head-to-head with us.
Hey, listen, I want to let you know, DVR, people can watch both.
Yeah.
But I would hope that Monday Night Football people would watch me over you guys.
I got to give my obligatory plug.
Yeah, do it.
Friday Night SmackDown tonight, first time ever on Fox. Gets underway at 7:30 Eastern with our kickoff show. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock, the fireworks will begin. And then, of course, we have Hell in a Cell pay-per-view exclusively streaming live on the WW Network on Sunday. Hell in a Cell.
Hey, there was Monday Night Raw, Michael Cole right there. If I've ever heard it, that was you. Pyro's back?
Pyro, lasers. Wait until you guys see the set. I had the opportunity to be at Staples last night to see the set. We had some rehearsals. Holy cow. You will be blown away.
I can't wait. I'm so thankful for you. If people that are listening and know nothing about the WWE, tonight would be a good time to check it out. I mean, it's going to be a great mix of the old and new. And the thing about wrestling and sports entertainment is it's a mix between comedy, drama, freak athleticism, storytelling, stand-up comedy, and action. It's literally everything all mixed into one. And whenever it's humming and going the right way, there's no other form of entertainment that can touch it.
You know what the best thing about doing the show in LA tonight is?
What's that?
Is that at 7 o'clock, the show is over, and I can still make happy hour.
Here's to you, man.
Thanks, Pat.
Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen. Michael
Thanks,
Cole.
guys.
Good luck. All right, we got to get to a break. We powered through that one. Those were the tuxedo shorts that I got 10 minutes before that shot that you were seeing on the internet right there. Me and Michael Cole almost went full fisticuffs. It was a hilarious situation. The wrestling people, though, I think whenever you're forced to hear one person for a couple decades, some people can turn jaded against Michael Cole. So any story that involves Michael Cole, they blow it up, right? For good reason, because he's going to be a WWE Hall of Famer. But man, we did almost fight. For some reason, I just did not appreciate being spoken to the way I was being spoken to. And I was probably out of line, to be honest with you. Michael Cole is part of writing WrestleMania, this biggest show all day, and then he sees me like probably 15 minutes beforehand. I mean, granted, there's no way I was changing. There's zero chance I was changing.
We bought you a pair of slacks from like Kohl's or something. Like, yeah, you can just cut those up. I'm not wearing those.
He's a good man. I hope SmackDown's good tonight. I really do. I think it's going to be great, man. If you got The Rock coming back and The Rock's promoting it, that means The Rock's going to be a pretty big part of it.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of quiet, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. The Rock's been kind of quiet.
Casual fan, I will watch strictly because The Rock's going to be there.
That's why they do it, by the way. Greatest promoters in the history of promotions. 11:25, we'll be back on the other side. Maybe take a call. You're listening to that. All right. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. There we go. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is Friday, October 4th, 2019. A little feel-good Friday here. Just got off the phone with Michael Cole, voice of WWE. His comments about AEW are going to do well on the internet. I'm excited to hear the reactions to it because he said that he remembers the last time they were at war, basically, and what it brought out of the company. He basically said, like, we're expecting to bring our best stuff. Everybody's going to want it, but he respects the hell out of them going for it. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. Tonight should be awesome. Friday Night SmackDown. Tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden, a dude named
Gennady Golovkin.
Gennady Golovkin, triple. Where's the other G?
His middle name is some G that I can't pronounce as well.
Triple G will be battling against Zachenko in Madison Square Garden only on the DAZN app. I'm excited to watch that one, man. We're going to be live there. They said I'm going to be able to get sweat and blood on me how close we're going to be sitting.
That's awesome. They're going to be banging.
Now,
Whoa.
I did walk into one of those parties in Las Vegas before.
Let's get a lot of sweat and blood on you there.
Yeah, well. It was oddly not a good place to be. I was like, man, I thought this was going to be awesome, and I'm getting out of here for sure. I mean, for some people. Frank Lucas wore a mink jacket with a hat to a boxing match. Is that how we're expected to dress at this thing?
Not if you want to get caught.
Because I think we're sitting in front of drug dealers. I think we're sitting in front of mafia members. We can't be dressing too loud, but I feel like I'm going in there in sleeveless.
Yeah, you should probably, that's a nice one.
Temple gave me this, and I couldn't wear it before because I didn't want to show favoritism, but now that, the game is over, they made a for the brand sleeveless Temple hoodie. I mean, I'm big. By the way, I can be swayed. I've said that I can be persuaded into liking one team over the other. And during the game, I think I call it right down the center. But personally, in the back, I can have an agenda if I really want it. And it tends to be the teams that have been giving me gifts. That's by the way, all the teams that have given me stuff have won.
It's true.
Oh. Hey, something to think about.
All the teams that have given me something have won. I mean, you're going to a stadium, and it's a quiet stadium, and you see somebody down there, maybe like a mascot. He has a T-shirt gun. Place goes crazy. I'm a basic man. You give me free stuff, I'm going to go crazy. And that's what happened. Speaking of free merch right now for the best comment utilizing hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live in Todd's eyes. Win some free merch. Hey, boy, Todd.
Let's go.
All right, let's go to Darian or Darian in Florida. Darian, what's up, dog?
What's going on, guys?
Darian, where are you from in Florida? My favorite thing to do on the internet is just search Florida Man and see what pops up. I love what your state provides in content, and I love what's going on. What do you want to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about your opinion on teams that throw Hail Marys at the end of games when they could attempt a long field goal instead. As somebody who has kicked a 64-yard field goal, or at least attempted one before, I'd like your perspective on what that conversation is like on the sidelines and whether you think more teams should attempt field goals rather than Hail Marys.
I appreciate you, Darian. Okay, so there was a play. What he's referring to is at the end of a preseason game, one of our first ones, there was a 64-yard attempt that I hit wide left, which was an interesting situation because they weren't letting me kick field goals in training camp at the beginning of training camp because there was another camp leg. They said, we don't need you to kick field goals yet for the twos because we have a guy here. We'll start that during the regular season. So then we get to that game with like a minute left, and I have a special teams coach walks up to me and goes, hey, if we get a chance for a long field goal, do you want to kick it? And I was like, sure, we've done 0 reps for the last probably 4 months. We haven't done it at all. I'll absolutely do it. He was like, do you want it or not? I'm like, absolutely. I'm not going to say no. So then it's a 64-yard attempt, and Chuck has his arms crossed, and he just looks down the line at me, and he gives me a head nod. And I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. I mean, I haven't kicked a field goal in, I don't know, probably 6 months, but let's go. Let's give it a go. And I jog out there, and literally I look in the eyes of the offensive line, these kids that were just straining in the preseason game. Griff Whalen's holding. Jack Doyle's there. And I'm like, you know what? I should try to make this thing. I think this is a pretty big ball. At the time, I think the record was 63 yards, too. Oh. So it would have been an NFL record, but it was a preseason game, so it wouldn't have counted. So, I mean, we gave it a go, man. Griff Whalen with an incredible hold. I hit the hell out of that thing. just pulled it left. And honestly, while I was taking my steps, I didn't even know what my ball flight was at the time. So I thought to myself, I was like, should I aim right because I'm going to pull it? I don't know. I haven't hit a ball. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm hitting right now. So I aimed right down the middle. And I think if I would have aimed a little bit right, I think that ball goes in. But there was a real moment there where I was like, oh, my God, I just made that. No, I didn't. And then they have a camera on my face. You know, I felt like a kicker for the first time in a long time. They had a camera on my face, and I'm just like walking off with my head down. Like in the back of my head, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make that. But I mean, there should have been a chance. But then I was like, but if I make that, it's a legendary moment forever. I have that forever. And it was kind of a tough moment. Much like last night with Greg Zuerlein. He thought that ball was going in, for sure. Greg Zuerlein thought that ball was coming in. It was a right hash, 44-yarder, I believe. He was already hit 3 field goals earlier in the night, hit a ball exactly like that actually went in earlier in the night. And Greg Zuerlein has been an incredible kicker in the NFL. He got hurt in the years past, or last year or the year before that, but he's been very consistent, has a big leg. Young Jeezy, his was his nickname because it's Greg Zuerlein for a long time. And last night after that game, there's people calling for him not to be on a football field anymore. That's wild. Like, that guy has won a lot of games for the Rams. He has performed incredibly. He had 9 points last night, probably more than a lot of players on that team. He performed well for his team, and you have one miss by an inch and a half where that ball, if it zigs instead of zags like it did, Greg Zuerlein's hero on Thursday Night Football. Everybody's talking about how great the game is, and Greg Zuerlein comes in. Also, instead of a push, LA Rams get the cover, everything. You know what I mean? But instead, that ball zags, and he misses it. And I thought last night on the plane while we were flying home, I said it to Nick, I think, or we're just an open conversation. I was like, I know I was at the point a couple months ago where I was going to go kick for the Bears. Mentally, I was going to go kick for the Bears. I was going to compete for that job. I was going to do it because nobody had ever punted and kicked in the NFL successfully in a long ever, I don't think. So I was like, it's a cool opportunity. Coach Pagano's up there. My kicking coach that I've had for over a decade's up there. I mean, it was just like a perfect tie-in. Now, granted, I did not have a conversation with the Colts about it, and Chris Ballard said there was no way he was going to let me go do that, which is a hilarious thought that I didn't even think about that. But mentally, I was going to go do it. Thinking about Greg Zuerlein last night, we was walking off the field with his head down, and Todd Gurley was doing that incredibly leader-type moment there where Todd was like, hey, don't worry about it. We could all done better, which is what happens in the locker room, by the way, as opposed to outside where they're just getting buried. I thought to myself, man, why would you ever want to be a kicker?
Yeah.
Why would you ever want to be a kicker? Ever. I was a kicker. I was a kicker, and I am friends with a lot of kickers. And now that I'm in this world, and now that I kind of like am invested in games a lot more as a fan and as a friend and things like that, I'm just like, every time they go out there, I just get like nervous. I'm like, God, please, God, go in. just so that they don't have to get buried. And when I'm calling games, I'm like, this kid, really good, big leg, misses. That's my fault. I don't know, because I know what's going to happen is people say, oh, these college kickers suck or whatever. It's like, that's a lot of pressure on people, and kicking is 100% in between the ears. I mean, a lot of people can kick a ball. It's whether or not in between the ears you can handle it. I just get so nervous, and I have no idea how I got to that mental spot a couple months ago where I was like, yeah, I'm going to go do that, because I'm at the point now where I'm like, I do not want that at all. I do not want that at all. There's so many factors there. Is the hold good? How's the wind? What about the rush off the edge? There's so much going into it, and it's always just like, well, should have made it. That's your only job. It's your only job to kick the ball through there. It's like, I agree. It's much easier than the other positions physically. But when it comes to the mindset, and people say like, kickers aren't football players. I think mentally you're 100% right, because it's an entirely different game in between the years for kickers. You're more of a golfer. You're more of a specialist in an operation as opposed to a like you're more like a sniper, like a instead of like
a specialist.
Instead of like boots on the ground there. It's an entirely different game. So when people are like, kickers aren't football players, I almost agree with them to a point where it's like, yeah, we're playing an entirely different game.
Yeah.
Granted, it is the game of football. It's just a different sector of the game, because there's no way you can out-effort something if you're having a bad day. There's no way that you can make up for what you just did the next play. You have to do your job and then go walk and sit for 15 to 20 minutes and just think about it. Think about what you've you've done, how you screwed everything up, and then you just have to jog back out there as if it didn't happen again. And like, here we go. You're in the biggest situation of all time. Or you have to make a kick, go 3 for 3 on a night, which is a big night. And then, okay, nobody's going to remember a single one of those if this ball doesn't go in. So nothing I've done tonight matters. Not a single completion that I threw maybe in the first quarter that was a highlight reel. None of that will be showed if I miss this kick. The only thing that's going to get showed is this kick right now. And if you're an inch and a half the other way, you're a hero. Instead, it's shouldn't even be allowed to play football.
Yeah, and the general population is so uneducated about kicking. They honestly expect you to make every kick. And if you miss one, all of a sudden you're horrible at your job.
So I was a part of the longest streak in NFL history. I think it's still there because Tucker got one blocked. But Vinatieri hit like 44 straight or something we were a part of. And it's almost like people, for a lot of it, were like, hey, you're just doing your job. Yeah. It's like,
what's the big deal? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just doing your job. In the history of the game, we hit 44 straight or something like that, and it's a record in the history of football, and this guy's 40-plus years old, and the entire operation there is doing it. But it is something that people think is menial. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the game. So just because you don't have to get run over by a guy, just because you don't have to throw your head into something, just because you don't have to dissect the defense, which are all incredibly hard jobs that I would argue no kickers or punters could do in the NFL if they had to, whatever. It's very difficult. It is in the scale of football positions. We very much understand it where it's by. It's not like people have to tell us that, right? It very much when it comes to the physical task. But mentally, in just doing a special craft in a very high-pressure situation, a lot of money, a lot of people watching, a lot of humans running at you. And people say it's like golf. I agree mentally. But in golf, you hit a bad shot, you can make up for it with a good shot. In this, you can't make up for it. You can't make it's live or die with this moment right now. You're an eighth of an inch off. It's a miss. If you hit it clean, it's good, but nobody's going to talk about it. You just did what your job is. And you have guys who are genetic freaks trying to run over other 300-pound men that are protecting you all at the same time. So I agree completely that it is the easiest job in a football world whenever you talk about it from a physicality standpoint. But these people who have never played football that think they can talk to kickers and punters the same way as NFL players can talk to kickers and punters. If an NFL player comes up to me and makes fun of me for being a punter, all good. I agree with you. But if somebody who's never played football is burying a kicker and punter, it's like, dog, Greg Zuerlein would run 45 laps around you in every single sport. Not just in kicking a ball. In every single sport he would run around you. Now we're in the era where it's no more the Grammaticas and the Stovers. You have freak athletes that are kicking and punting balls right now. Really good athletes. Because there's only 32 jobs. There's a lot of money, so you got a lot of people trying to get after this. It's not an easy position to get, but boy, it's an easy position to be hated. And all you got to do is just do a little bit. And I have no idea why I ever wanted to do it.
You know what sucks for Zuerlein, too? He goes 3 for 4. Jason Myers goes 1 for 2. No one cares about his miss. Everyone talks about Zuerlein's. Because it's just...
I think Vinatieri in that Rams game, I think he told me, he either missed 1 or 2 kicks before that. Never heard about it.
In the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Never heard about it. I think he missed a kick or missed 2 kicks in that game. Have you ever heard that talked about?
No.
Nope. But if he would have made those 2 and missed that one, nobody would have ever talked about the single make. He'd be the kicker that wide right or wide left won or whatever that is. It's a terrible job. It pays well. It pays well.
Sure.
So if your end game is strictly cash and you are very good at kicking balls, it's the dream job, which, by the way, was my mindset ever since I was a kid. I didn't know how I was going to make money, but I knew that's all I wanted to do was make money. Here we go, point A to point B, bank account to get from this point to that point. We kick balls hard. We do it professionally for the NFL. And then you get there and you're like, whoa, is this all that's cracked up? I mean, yes, money is freedom. It's fantastic, but just to have the whole world just bury you is a wild scene, but it comes with the territory. It's expected. This is what's going to happen, and that's even more so why I'm like, I don't know why the hell I thought I wanted to do that, especially in that Bears position.
It's kind of like being a closer in baseball, right? Like you don't have very many opportunities. Your mistakes are magnified tenfold, and typically when something goes wrong, and like if you do lose, people are always looking back at you as the one that didn't perform despite all the other stuff that might have happened throughout the game.
It's a very good comparison. The only difference is when that closer comes out of the outfield, there's smoke, there's music, there's excitement.
Yeah.
Yep.
When the kicker comes on the field, it's like, we should have caught a touchdown.
He's also got fielders behind him that can rob a base hit, snag a line drive they shouldn't get.
Very true. It's just, but it is a comparable position.
Yeah.
It is a
Mentally,
mentally,
I'm
it's
sure
a
it is.
comparable position. It's just the appearance of what it is whenever he's coming on the field. It's like a celebration. Where for a kicker, it's like, we failed. Yeah, we got to kick a field goal because we took a 10-yard penalty, couldn't pick up first down, or couldn't pick up an inch, so we got to kick a field goal. There's never like, we're happy we kicked a field goal, or we're happy we turned the ball over in a strategic fashion by punting. Never happens.
Well, I mean, Goff had to delay a game before that nobody talked about.
And by the way, that ball was in and then it went out. Delay game, 5 yards. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easier back there. Bruce Arians said it. 11:44. We got to get to another break here. We've powered right through them today. Could be because running on limited sleep. Could be because those conversations with Chris Mannix and Michael Cole are pretty good. The general sports fan might not know much about boxing or wrestling, so I try to make it as entertaining as possible. But I'm intrigued by why the greats are great. To listen to Mannix, Sports Illustrated writer, great in his own right, but to talk about the old Triple G guy, and then listen to Michael Cole, who's been doing something on television for 20-some years. I don't care if you're a soap opera actor. If you're on the 2 longest episodic television things in the history of television, that's a pretty successful little television career.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty impressive. And he's also one of the best play-by-play people in the history. You rarely hear him bobble or stumble over a word. Much like Adam Amin. That dude impresses me, man. He had Ebola.
Never stumbles. Yeah, really.
He was dead, a dead man. He was in that production meeting, and he was literally sitting on the other side of the table from all of us. Like, don't even look at me. I don't need whatever you have.
Great laugher, too.
Oh, he lost it.
He was belly laughing.
Because he was so sick, he didn't get to see any of the stuff. He had no idea that was
the
coming.
first time.
So when that hit the screen, this is his first time seeing it.
He lost it.
And he may or may not have been on a bunch of Z-Pack. Shout out to Macho Scotty Smalls for earning $10,000 from me to the Boys and Girls Club of Philly because he punted a ball 30 yards. 11:46. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. I don't know why, but you are. Gangnam Style. I love this knockoff music we use. It's the best. Shout out to DJ Nicky Moraldo, Frankie Moraldo on the ones and twos all day with the knockoff music. Had a little Saved by the Bell jam. Had a little Gangnam Style today. At Tone Diggs is about to give us his locks for the weekend here in a couple of seconds while we exit the show for today. Uncle Todd. Find him on Twitter at Todd McComas, at Ty Schmidt, at Viva Lazito, at Evan Foxy, at Gumpy, and that random guy from Westwood One that is sitting in Gumpy's corner. He was here to fix the phones. Let's get to them right now. Scott in Houston, what's up, brother?
Hey, here we go. How's it going, fellas?
Hey, Scott, great to hear from you, my man. How's life? What do you want to talk about? We only have a couple minutes left.
Oh, if we're live on the air, I want to talk about that hell of a fornicating interception last night.
Okay, yeah, big time play. Whenever I saw that happen, I was like, wow, what a play.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, everybody did, right?
What are you talking about, just so I know?
The Seattle Seahawks intercepting Jared Goff's pass at the last couple minutes of the game.
Oh, of course
Pretty
I
much
saw
ended
that.
it.
Oh, that was the one where he saved that. I did see that highlight, actually. That was an insane.
Right before it touched the ground.
That was absolutely insane. The athleticism by these dudes nowadays, it seems as if they're like
Exactly.
Spider-Man or I don't know how. It was Go-Go Gadget type thing to get his hands under there. The freak athleticism from these
For
NFL
real.
athletes is next level.
Also wanted to say, I was talking about Stephon Diggs, and it made me think about Allen Iverson back in the day. We're talking about practice.
A little different.
I
Slightly
respect Scott a little slightly there. I mean, he was taking a stand. Allen Iverson was there. He just wasn't performing well. All right, Diggs, as we close out the day here, our friends at FanDuel is the best place to gamble. They're going to be opening online in plenty of states here very soon. This weekend, there's 3 marquee matchups in the NFL. Who are you taking? What are we betting on? And let me give my thoughts as well.
Okay, the 3 primetime games are Green Bay at Dallas. Dallas is -3.5.
Okay, let's go ahead and hammer the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. This is going to be the week that it's in Dallas?
Yeah.
In
in
Dallas.
Jerry World. This is going to be the week that Aaron Rodgers and Mr. LaFleur dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge their way into a productive offense while that defense does good. Or Ezekiel Elliott just runs right down their throat.
That's all it is about. Can you stop Zeke or not? Because
It
that's
is-
their one weakness on defense.
How hard is that not to think about, too? Because they're going to just feed him with that big spoon right into that bowl. I still like Green Bay Packers just because I think 3 is a lot.
There's also a chance Devontae Adams doesn't play.
Okay, let's go ahead and hammer the Cowboys.
Well-
let's hammer the Cowboys. All right, I'm on the Cowboys. Who do you like?
In that game, I like the Cowboys as well.
Okay, we got to go. What's the next one?
Colts at Chiefs -11.
Colts. What are we even doing here? What are we even doing here? I mean, it is 11 points is a lot of points. Jacoby Brissett, Patrick Mahomes, 2 of the most talented young quarterbacks to ever come into the NFL.
Top 2.
Last game, Browns at 49ers. 49ers are -3.5 Monday night.
Dog Pound shows up on primetime television. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have to take something off of his uniform and before the game and after the game, during the game. It's going to be a show, though. We'll take the Dog Pound. Unless the 49ers are for real, and we're about to learn a lot. Speaking of 49ers, Jerry Rice was on the show this week. If you never hear from him again, if you want to catch up with that, go to DAZN or YouTube. He was good. He was great. Rice
Great.
He's
He was
really
great.
good.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody that joined the show today, this week. Thanks for listening and watching. You're the absolute greatest. Our lives are insane. From all of us in Indianapolis, Indiana! Have a great weekend. This has been the Pat McAfee Show.
Hey, see, Dawn.
Hey, I'm going to answer these calls.
Appreciate you, Don.
Thank you. I'm going to answer these calls. Are we recording? Garrett, what's up, bub?
Hey, Pat, how are you?
Good, man. I'm sorry we just went off the air. We weren't able to get to you, mostly because I'm very scared on whether or not the phones are going to work. So